What's going on, everybody? So here we are in the Car Confections crib with the virtual unveiling of the 2021 Acura TLX. So we have basically split the video into two different parts on the outside and the performance, and also the interior. So this is going to be the detailed interior breakdown, where you kind of just take a deep dive in there and see all that Acura has packed into this brand new interior.
Now, I'll go ahead and start it off by saying that this interior is certainly very impressive looking. When they originally unveiled it, I got that first picture of the interior with the red leather, and I was just like, wow. I mean, there's really nothing else to say. Mm-hmm. I mean, just being honest, is so different from the current gen TLX. I mean, I don't think a single panel has made it from the current one to this new one, so it's definitely a very radical departure, and it also is very, very sporty looking. The old TLX interior, Drew probably agrees with me here, it's pretty boring.
Yes, it's a real snooze. Would be the best way to describe it. It's not horrible. It's just that it's just really bland, and it's gotten very stale over the years.
And not only in the fact that, it's moving forward in terms of styling, but also the material quality is a big step up. And honestly, the sporty styling of it makes more sense in this TLX than in the RDX.
Right, yeah, because we were always looking at the interior of the RDX. You think like the giant drive mode controller is very distinct. It definitely stands out for the Acura brand, but for just kind of a family crossover like an RDX technology or something, it's kind of weird. But I think here in the TLX it's really starting to make sense, that design, because it pulls it off with the way that the outside looks and the way that the whole interior looks, being a genuine sports sedan. Now, speaking of those materials, Acura actually has provided quite a bit of information about what you can expect to find in the inside of the cabin. So you have generous use of Milano leather throughout the cabin. You can see some leather on the dashboard. Of course, the seats are leather. You have a variety of different colors you can select between. You also have real wood in the advanced trim level, so you have large pieces of genuine wood trim. Or if you choose one of the sportier oriented models, you're going to have big pieces of real aluminum. Definitely classes everything up a whole lot. Then there are also the giant metal speaker grills, just like we saw on the RDX. Again, just really adds to the overall ambience of the cabin.
But not just the materials. Acura has also really, really updated the tech. That was honestly one of the biggest areas where the old TLX was lacking, was just the technology, that two-screen setup, that it just was slow. There was really no other way to describe it besides painfully slow. And then the gauges, they were just regular gauges. All that is gone with this new TLX model.
What replaces the two-screen setup is Acura's true touchpad interface. That, of course, was all new to the RDX, and it is exactly the same here in the TLX. Now, Mason and I, we had kind of a mixed opinion of it, and as far as consumers and comments that we see, a lot of people have also had kind of mixed opinion of it. Of course, the performance of the system is a lot faster than the old two-screen model, but the controlling takes a little getting used to. We've found that once you kind of get oriented to it, it's not too bad, but it does take a little bit of a learning curve because it uses the perfect positioning setup. So unlike in a Lexus where you kind of scroll around the pad, just like on a laptop, on this you press the pad, like the part of the pad that corresponds to the screen. Yeah. So if you tap in the top right corner, then it taps in the top right corner of the screen. So you don't have a touch screen. So I guess a little disappointed by that, just because I kind of feel like, I think Mason feels the same way, that really it's best to have a touchscreen and something else so that consumers have the option between what they want to use, but in this case you're going to have to use that true touchpad controller.
Now I know I mentioned that the gauges were going to be a little bit updated for this new model, but that doesn't actually mean that they're going to be fully digital, because Acura has actually stuck with analog gauges, the same ones that are on the RDX, but with a larger, like 7 or 8 inch display in the middle. Certainly a big upgrade over the one that they have currently in the TLX.
And I think they look really classy too.
Yeah, and you will also have a 10-inch head-up display, as well as 16-way power adjusting seats. And like Drew was mentioning, you also have that upgraded 17-speaker ELS 3D audio system.
Which I will mention is one more speaker than in the RDX, and inside of that car it sounded excellent.
Yeah.
That was actually an area that I talked about in the past with Hondas and Acuras. Their sound systems were a little lackluster, but this one was the first one I've been in that I was like, wow, I was really impressed by the way it sounded.
But that pretty much sums up this all-new TLX's interior. Now, of course, I'm sure you're probably interested, if you haven't already watched our previous video about the exterior of the TLX, as to what that's going to look like. We actually have a super in-depth look at that in another video, so be sure to hop on over to that video. And in that video, we also will talk about the powertrain and performance features of this new TLX. Hint, there is the new Type S, which has a new engine in it, so you might want to go check that out as well. But overall, this interior certainly is a huge step up from the current TLX. I'm very excited to review it coming this fall when the regular models are supposed to make it to dealers. The Type S will lag behind in spring of 2021. But in the meantime, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, and we will be reviewing this TLX model as soon as it hits the dealership showroom.